All right, so today we're going to talk about broadcasting in Snap. So broadcasting in Snap is a way in which you can allow your computer to send commands in the middle of a running program. So for example, here we've got the Snap as a beginning environment. We've opened up something. We've got our little turtle going there. And from here, I'm going to give you some advice. Save often with Snap, because Snap will log up on you, and if you don't save often, you might wind up making a mistake. And if you make a mistake and everything freezes up on you, and then you don't get that 3.5 hours that you've worked on, you're going to be very sad. And we don't want you to be sad. So if you'll remember, in Snap, we have different groups of commands. We've been working a lot with motion, the motion tab. We've been working a lot with looks, and we've been working a lot with control. And now I'm going to introduce some stuff out of sensing to you and some more stuff out of control. So the looks command is what allows you to make changes to how your sprite looks on the screen. So that's where we go with output. There's a say and a think, a next costume, a switch costume commands. The say and the think commands are output. So if I ever ask you to do a program that involves output, I'm wanting you to use either say or think. Okay? So if you pull down the looks command, you've got the say blocks and you've got the think blocks, and you can have a duration for how long those messages will appear on the screen, or if you do the ones without durations inherent to them, it'll just stay up there until you do something different. Okay? So that's the say and the think are output. Costumes, we've worked extensively with costumes last week, so I'm assuming nobody has any questions on costumes. Now, here's a little program I wrote that each time the flag was clicked, the dog moves and the costume changes. So that's how I walk the dog across the screen, and I showed you that one last week, and then we also put it into a loop so that it would do it over and over again. Okay. For Lab 1B, what I want you to do is I want you to use the sprites interacting. I want you to create 2 sprites, and I want you to have them interact using a broadcast. So let me go through and show you how to do that in Snap. So here we have a Snap program. I've only got 1 sprite at the moment, so I'm going to need to create a second sprite. So we'll call this sprite, and then I'll add another sprite, and we'll call it Sprite 2. So I've got Sprite 1 and Sprite 2 right here. Sprite 2 has got a little bit of a different thing. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Sprite 2, and I'm going to go into Costumes, and I'm going to click on it and see if I can't change its color. Maybe I can't even change this color. So maybe I need some different sprites. So
it should automatically give you a different sprite color.
It did. You can see that this one's a little bit bluer. Let me try doing something here where I actually load in some sort of picture. So I think for Sprite 1, I'll go ahead and I'll edit the sprite thing, and I'll make my own arrow. So I'm going to make the brush size kind of big. And so I'll do arrow, more arrow, more arrow, and then let's put the arrowhead on the end here. Arrowhead. All right, so that's okay. So that's going to be 1 sprite. And then I'm going to go here to the other one, and I'm going to make this
Yellow. I have circle or green arrow.
I should be able to draw a square with that. So let's do, yeah, here we go. Square with another square with another square. Yeah, those are actually probably rectangles.
Now they're rectangles.
Pointing in this direction. And then I think I'm going to fill. So I'll fill all this stuff. You want me to fill the middle one with orange? All right, I can comply. There we go. So that's going to be my second sprite. So those look a little bit too large for me, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit. I think you've got a shrink effect, and I'll shrink that down to a little bit smaller. And then over here, I'll edit this one. And I'll shrink it down. All right. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my two things like move towards each other. And then I'm going to create some sort of sensing that when they're touching, something happens. And we'll see some different stuff. So how would I do movement for the black arrow? So I'm going to do motion. So 10 is kind of a small number. That won't be a very big movement. I think I'm going to change 10 to 25. But how am I even going to get him to move 10 steps at all? Go to Control. Yeah, let's do when space key is clicked. So when space key is clicked, move 25 steps. Okay? And then I think what I'm going to do is also do some sort of sensing. All right? So if color is touching color, so I guess I need a touching command. Now, here's something weird about the touching commands. I'm not just going to be able to pull them over and snap them into anything. Do you know why?
Because they don't have their little things.
Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is, at this point, without using conditionals, it's going to be hard for me to determine the broadcast. So I think I'm going to create a broadcast situation. So when I receive, I've got a pull-down menu, and I don't have any messages in my pull-down menu, so I'm going to create a new message. When I receive hello, then he's going to do something. So when the black arrow receives hello, something's going to happen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make him turn 180 degrees. All right? So he's going to move 25 steps in this direction. When he receives hello, he's going to turn the other way. All right? Now, I'm going to go to the other guy. And the other guy doesn't have any scripts. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a control, and I'm going to do when the green flag is clicked. And we talked the other day about a forever loop. So I'm going to put a forever loop in there. So when the green flag is clicked forever, what's going to happen is I'm going to check and see if he's touching something that's black. All right? So here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to take a simple if statement. If sensing is touching and let's say if it's touching the sprite. So if he's touching the black sprite. So the sprite is the name for this guy right here. That's why there's only one name in that pull-down menu. If I make a bunch of more sprites, they'll all show up in here. But Sprite 2 and Sprite 1 are the names of these things. So if he's touching Sprite, then I'm going to make him broadcast. And then if I go to the broadcast menu, there should be pull down hello. So now I've got two things of code and two different sprites that happen. So this thing is going to start to happen when I click the green arrow. And when I go over to the other sprite, he's got some things that happen. One when the space bar is pressed, and the other when he receives hello. So what does that mean when he receives hello? Well, that means that hello got broadcast. Where am I broadcasting hello? Oh, I'm broadcasting hello from the other sprite. And so when this condition occurs that he's touching sprite 1, he's going to broadcast hello. So I'm going to line the sprites up to where at some point he will be touching that guy. I'm going to go ahead and click the green flag. Now, did you notice that all of this stuff is outlined in blue? Yeah, it's all outlined in blue. So since it's all outlined in blue, then we've got a situation where this code is always running. So it's always checking to see if the sprite touched sprite 2. And it's ready to do something when that happens. But now, when I press the space bar, you see sprite 1 moving. Now it seems like they're touching, doesn't it? But touching actually is defined closer to the center. And it looks like these sprites never actually touched. All right, so
how do we undo? Because like it's way too easy for. Like it's way too easy to get these things off the screen.
oh, well, so you have to make boundaries. All right, so I moved him and now he turned the other way. What's the deal here? All right, so apparently I'm going to have to get to the point where I'm not touching the sprite and this command isn't broadcasting hello over and over and over again. So I think the way that I'll get around that is I'll put in a stop command. So have y'all seen the stop commands?
Yeah, stop all but this group. Yeah, you just press it. Yeah, yeah.
Stop. Stop this block. So now let's see if I can get him to turn around. Space, space, space. He might not be up high enough. Space, 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 space. Oh, there we go. So now he's turning around because I've stopped the running of this loop. Notice that this loop isn't outlined anymore. And now he can run away. So that's a broadcast. So yeah, that's interesting. So it never says hello. Why? Because the message that I'm broadcasting is just a keyword that he's throwing out. So this sprite right here is waiting for hello to be broadcast. That doesn't mean that broadcast was output. That means that broadcast is something that's being sent out behind the scenes. So now let's do a green flag operation here. So when the green flag is clicked, I think I want to reset this guy to here and this guy to here. So now I'm going to put in some setup. So now I'm going to go to motion. And when the green flag is clicked, I want to find out the X position and Y position of this arrow. And I've got it right here. What's the X position? Negative 215 if you can't read it. What's the Y position? 6 if you can't read it. That looks like an 11. Do you have glasses? Okay. So what I'm going to do is when the green flag is clicked, I'm going to go to negative 215 6. And I also want to point in direction 90. So now when the green flag is clicked, I'm going to run this program. It'll put this guy facing this way. And it'll put him in the direction that I want to put him. So that seems like a little bit too far. So I think I'm going to do negative 190. Now when I click it's still not far enough. So I think I'm going to do negative. So this is right here, this process where I'm typing in different numbers and see where he shows up. That's called iterative design. I'm repeating a process over and over again to where I get it to look like what I want to. All right, now notice I've clicked the green flag about 5 times. If I go here, you'll notice this program's already running. So let's stop because I'm not ready for it to run yet. Now notice that when I check the X and the Y, I've got a new X and a Y for the other sprite's position. And so this is at 2:16:23. So I think I'm going to set him up into go to 2:15:33. So now I can move these suckers all over the place now. And when I click the green flag, I'm going to take away these variable things right here. And we'll take the variable things away from the other guy. When I click the green flag, it now puts them in the right position. Pretty cool, huh? So I think he's going to be apologetic for bumping into the other sprite. So I think I'm going to give him some output. So I'm going to go to looks, and I'm going to do say, sorry, exclamation points. And then this guy is going to react to him. And he is going to do something based on another broadcast. So I'm going to broadcast something new. I'm going to broadcast bump. And then in the other sprite, when he receives bump, so I'm going to go up to the broadcasting thing and say, when I receive, and I've got a choice now, I can do bump or hello. When he receives bump, then he is going to say, no problem. Where? I don't know. Did I put something in the middle? Yeah. Sometimes these are hard to see, and I'm bad nearsighted, so it's hard for me. So he's going to say no problem. However, then he is going to, after saying that, he is going to point in direction. And here's what I like about this. It tells you what up is. Up is 0 degrees. He's going to point in direction up, and he's going to move 15 steps, and I'm going to have him do that 10 times. So I'm going to put a repeat 10 in here. And then he's going to think to himself, that arrow was a jerk. All right, so I hit the green flag to get everybody pointed in the right direction and oriented in the right place. I press the space bar. The space bar is what's causing the arrow to move. Sorry. No problem. That arrow was a jerk. And there you have a program that does broadcasting. So I used some conditionals in there. We haven't really talked about conditionals yet, but I used an if touching sprite. I used another version of a loop. We'll talk about those more. What I want you to do is I want you to create 2 characters that you're going to start something going, and then they'll interact with each other. And it might be dialogue, and then after the dialogue, you can immediately broadcast. Then the other creature picks up on the broadcast. I just want to make sure that you can use broadcasting. So you might have 2 characters, and they just have a conversation, and you just broadcast the conversation.